Good morning. Welcome to our service. My name is Sherry Mizumori, and today I have the honor of being the chair of this service. We will honor the lives of Lady Takeko Kujo and Lady Yoshiko Ohtani, who founded and propagated the BWA. Service will begin now with the Kansho, the Sanbujo, the Hyobyaku, followed directly with the sutra chanting on Jusei-ge, page 20.
Please join me in that show. Namo Amida Butsu. チャンティング・オブ・三部条。部条みだ如来にうど上釈迦如来にうど上部上 ジポオユニョライニウドウジョウサンゲラWe are gathered here in the tranquility of the Amida's temple to observe the Lady Takeko Kujo, Lady Yoshiko Ohtani Memorial Service in conjunction with the Dana Day service. We faithfully recite the Nembutsu and humbly join in our hands in gassho. May the fragrance of incense teach us the purity of our intentions. May the beauty of the flowers remind us of the glory of the Dharma. May the light that burn brightly upon the altar lead our thoughts to Amida's eternal light of wisdom that dispels the darkness of ignorance. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Now we have a sutra chanting of Juseige on the page 20. Gagon chosegan kishimu joudot shigan fumansok seifu joushougak gao muryoko大摂取、不採小便具、政府上昇学、餓死上仏道、妙正長寺法、空教未正門、政府上昇学、利欲人少年、上平主凡行、死具無浄土、一生天人心、人力縁大根、不生無才道、少女三苦名、交際主役難、回避地平原、滅死根模範、閉塞小悪道、通達全宗門、高層上満足、異様老寺法、日学主樹期、天候本普賢、異種解放像、公正功徳法、情報大主樹、説法知識、供養一切物、具足習徳法、関連信条満、特異三害法、女仏無下地、 津達未不詳願学へ力都市最小尊志願略国家大聖王感動国書天に当内名受けナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブがんにしくどく平等聖祭道本菩提心お湯上あんだこナモアミダ仏、ナモアミダ仏、ナモアミダ仏、ナマンダブ、ナマンダブ、ナマンダブ、ナマンダブ、ナマンダブ、ナマンダブ、ナマンダブ。
If you can now please turn to the back of the program for Seiya. We will sing the Japanese verses along with the video online. The significant meaning of the gatha is in English on your program. Please turn to the threefold refuge found in your program and join in the reading. The reading will be led by Nicole Shimizu.
Difficult is it to receive a human form, now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Dharma of the Buddha, now we hear it. If we do not cross over to the truth in the present life, in what life shall we cross over? Let us, with sincerity and true reverence, take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we, together with all sentient beings, awaken to the great way of enlightenment and to the unsurpassed intent of Amida Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we, together with all sentient beings, enter the storehouse of the Dharma, becoming like the wisdom ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we, together with all sentient beings, become units in true accord, in harmony with all things. The peerless, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rare to encounter, even in many hundreds and thousands of kalpas. Now we are privileged to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Reverend Kusunoki will now introduce our guest speaker, Reverend Ann Spencer.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to this important service to the Lady Takeko Kujo and Lady Yoshiko Ohtani Memorial Service. Then this is scheduled the second Sunday of February. Then usually it is in conjunction with the Dana Day service. So this is a time to think about what we can do as a Dana practice. So each of us, maybe we can think about it, what we can do. So for this special occasion, we are so fortunate to have our special guest speaker today, Reverend Ann Spencer. Reverend Ann began attending the Idaho Oregon Buddhist Temple in the fall of 2002. At that point in her life, she was working in the medical field and helping families make difficult medical decisions and cope with grief and loss. She found that the Jodo Shinshu Buddhist teaching, along with her relationship with the community of people at the Idaho Oregon Buddhist Temple, helped her find meaning in her work and a new perspective to help face life's challenges. Her desire to learn more about Buddhism led her to volunteer at the temple as well as pursue academic study in Buddhism. In 2010, she received the Tokudo ordination at the Nishihonganji in Kyoto, Japan. In 2012, she graduated with her MA in Buddhist Studies from the Institute of the Buddhist Studies and the Graduate Theological Union. In 2018, she received her Kyoshi certification from Nishihonganji in Kyoto, Japan. And in 2021, she received the status of the Assistant Minister, Kaikyoshi Ho in Japanese, from Nishihonganji. In addition to working at the Idaho Oregon Buddhist Temple, she continues her work in the medical field as a lecturer at the Boise State University College of Health Science and as a support group leader for people affected by Huntington's disease. So now I'd like to welcome Reverend Ann to come to the podium.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Great, okay. So as you may know, Idaho Oregon Temple had a fire a few years ago. And so we are fully recovered and back in the temple. The only thing we have left to do is the things that we lost in our basement were in fact, like all those boxes and all that stuff that you keep in your basement, we're soundproofing our basement. So when we had events there, it wasn't all echoey. And now that we've lost all that stuff, it's really hard to hear each other. Even over lunch, it just echoes around. So we are now, our main job is just getting it soundproofed. It's funny, the little things that you take for granted, and then when you lose them, you realize, oh, we actually, needed that. But mostly I bring good news that it can be done. You can recover. You can get back your temple and keep going. So we're a couple years ahead of you on that process, but I think it can be done. So keep going. So after that, I want to just thank you all for inviting me to participate in your Lady Takeko Kujo and Lady Yoshiko Ohtani Memorial Service. My theme for the day is the harmony of wisdom and compassion, qualities that I believe that these ladies embodied. I want to start with two readings. The first one is from Shinran Shonin, and the other a piece of folk wisdom used by many traditions, including our own. Please gasho as I read this wasan from Shinran Shonin's Hymns of the Dharma Ages. When the waters, the minds, good and evil, of foolish beings have entered the vast ocean of Amida's vow of wisdom, they are immediately transformed into the mind of great compassion. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. This wasan reminds me that wisdom and compassion are not opposites, that they support each other. In the center of the altar, as you know, is a scroll with a picture, an image of Amida Buddha. Amida means without measure and refers to Amida Buddha's infinite wisdom and infinite compassion, which are in balance, in harmony with each other. Next, I would like to share a saying that is found in Buddhism as well as other traditions. Just as a bird needs two wings to fly, you must develop wisdom and compassion simultaneously. Wisdom is a correct understanding of reality, and compassion is the desire for all beings to be liberated from suffering. The second image emphasizes the importance of balancing wisdom and compassion. If they are not in balance, the bird will fly in circles, right? It's the same with us, as individuals and as communities. If we invest our energies disproportionately in one area or the other, the community will also end up going in circles. When wisdom and compassion are out of balance, it's hard to move forward because you're going in circles. In a moment, I'll be talking more about the two amazing ladies that we're honoring today, Lady Kujo and Lady Ohtani. But first, I want to explore the ideas of wisdom and compassion a little bit more. So wisdom is intellectual. We often think of it as coming from our heads, our thinking minds. It's an accurate understanding of the nature of life and the nature of the universe. When we think of the wisdom of the Buddha, the wisdom of Buddhism, we often think of the Four Noble Truths, the truths that Shakyamuni Buddha observed. So one is life is suffering. Two is this suffering is caused by the mistaken belief that things, including ourselves, are separate, independent, solid, and permanent. Three is that since suffering has a cause, then suffering will be eliminated if we can stop the cause. And four, there is a path to eliminating the suffering, which is the Eightfold Path, which is correct view, correct thoughts, correct speech, conduct, livelihood, effort, and meditation. The wisdom of the Four Noble Truths is important when we apply it to ourselves, but it can also be used incorrectly, but used because we're humans and we're not perfect. It can be used to blame others for their suffering. When we use wisdom to judge or hurt others, it becomes harmful. So even though wisdom can be helpful, without compassion, wisdom can be dangerous. We often imagine wisdom as coming from our minds, from our thinking minds, from our heads. And then we think of compassion as coming from our hearts. Compassion is caring about the well-being of others, recognizing that we can't be fully happy until everyone around us feels safe and loved. Compassionate beings naturally respond to others' suffering by providing practical help and support. For example, a listening ear, a ride to the doctor, a hot meal, a hug, shelter. But if compassion is given without thinking about its context, we can act impulsively, trying to help people willy-nilly, not really considering the long-term consequences of what we're doing. When I think of compassion without wisdom, I like to imagine someone seeing a baby ostrich lying on the ground and recognizing that's a bird. I know that's a bird. So I pick it up and I put it in a tree because birds like trees, right? But I don't think the ostrich is going to like being in the tree, right? So you have that compassion to help the bird, but you don't recognize what kind of bird it is and what its habitat is. And I also think of a cartoon, maybe you've seen it. It's of a Boy Scout trying to help a little old lady across the street. He's got her firmly by the arm, and he's going to get his merit badge, and he's going to take that old lady across the street. But she actually wanted to go the other way. So she's getting her cane, and she's hitting him with the cane. He's trying to help, but he missed the context. So offering compassion without wisdom can also backfire. So the goal is for the forces of wisdom and compassion to balance each other. The bird with only one wing can't fly at all. And the bird, even if it has two wings, if one is stronger than the other, as I said, it's going in a circle. It's moving, but it's not getting anywhere. So this concept applies to finding balance in our own communities as well. If we want to be happy and helpful, we need to combine in balance wisdom and compassion. And this brings me back to the theme of our service, the Buddhist Women's Association and the two women who created and nurtured it, Lady Kujo and her niece, Lady Ohtani. Lady Kujo was a sister of Kozui Ohtani, the 22nd Gomonshu. She and her sister-in-law, Kazuko, founded the Fujinkai, the Buddhist Women's Association in Japan in 1904. At first, the Fujinkai's main focus was supporting soldiers in the Russo-Japanese War, along with their families, especially families whose sons and husbands had been injured or killed in the war. Lady Kujo was smart, savvy, and compassionate. She was known for both her poetry and her humanitarian work. In 1920, she founded the Kyoto Women's College, offering women access to a high level of education that had previously only been widely available to men. She also founded Asoka Hospital, making modern medical care more accessible, especially to the poor. Lady Kujo seemed fearless in her compassion, providing direct care to people injured and displaced after the Great Kanto earthquake in 1923. Sadly, she died in 1928 at the age of 40 after contracting blood poisoning, helping in the Tokyo slums. I think about that, and I feel like I'm a complete failure as a compassionate human being when I realize how much she gave, how much she contributed to the world, and again seemed fearless in that. Lady Yoshiko Ohtani came one generation after Lady Kujo. She was married to Lady Kujo's nephew, Kosho Ohtani, who was our 23rd Gomonshu. Lady Ohtani saw the value of the work that Lady Kujo had started, bringing Jodo Shinshu Buddhist women together to support their communities through education, healthcare, and art. Lady Ohtani took the work that Lady Kujo and Kazuko Ohtani began with the Fujinkai, and she made it international, not just Japanese, but visited around the world, bringing this concept more widely. She connected Jodo Shinshu women from different regions and different continents, and she formed the World Buddhist Women's Association in 1961. I know that at our temple, Idaho Oregon Buddhist Temple, we have a picture of Lady Ohtani and her husband, Gomonshu Kosho Ohtani, visiting our little temple in eastern Oregon, and they are planting our ginkgo tree. It's the second ginkgo tree that we got, and that ginkgo tree is still there, and it's thriving out there in front of our temple. Did any of you meet her on that trip? Did she come to any of your temples? Yeah, I'm seeing a few hands, yeah. So, you know, it was 1961, so I think some of you were probably around when she made that international tour, trying to encourage and support the World BWA. Now I want to try to connect the stories of these women with the image that I started with, a bird with the wings of wisdom and compassion, and the importance of keeping the wings balanced, working in harmony with each other. When we look at the history of gender roles in Europe, Asia, and even America, women are often associated with the household and nurturing roles, while men and boys are more likely to receive the formal education and work in jobs and careers outside of the home. Often compassion is seen as more feminine, and formal knowledge and wisdom is seen as more masculine. Notice I put quotes around both of those. So I wanted to learn more about the women of BCA and the various things that American Fujinkai women have done. So I turned to the Densho Encyclopedia. I think many of you are familiar with Densho, but in case you're not, the Densho is a nonprofit organization based here in Seattle that preserves and shares the history of Japanese Americans. Quoting some Fujinkai members they interviewed, Densho describes the Fujinkai as, quote, critical to the efforts and survival of Buddhist organizations as expressed through the metaphor. The Kyodan, the church's administrative body, can be considered the right hand of the temple and the Fujinkai as the left. The Fujinkai works hand in hand with the Kyodan in all of its functions and projects. The Fujinkai members that Densho quotes are basically drawing on that same metaphor that I started with, right? The two wings of the bird, the right hand, the left hand, the two wings of the bird, balancing each other. With the image, in this case, of the Kyodan, mostly men at the time, and the Fujinkai, mostly women at that time, creating balance and harmony by filling different roles within the community. My understanding was that typically the BWA ladies took care of the temple and its members in practical ways, making food, visiting the sick and homebound members, cleaning the temple, taking care of children, leading Dharma school, and sharing Japanese culture through music, dance, and traditional cooking. Tasks that I would tend to label, again, approximately label in the category of compassionate work. Meanwhile, the ministers, who were typically men, handled the temple rituals, the formal teaching of the Dharma to teens and adults. And then the board, also mostly men, handled the finances, the administration, and the larger temple repairs. These are roles that I would tend to label as more wisdom-centered. These gender roles were the norm, across all of society, not just at the temple, but they were the norm, and I think especially in the case of ministers. And I actually have some data to support this part. The first Jodo Shinshu ministers to come from Japan were two men. You may have heard of them, Reverend Sonata and Reverend Nishijima, who came in 1899. The first female Jodo Shinshu Buddhist priest in the US was Reverend Yuri Kyogoku, who arrived almost 60 years later in 1958. In a BCA history book that lists all the ministers assigned to American temples in chronological order, Reverend Sonata and Nishijima are number 1 and 2. Reverend Kyogoku was number 248. So 247 male ministers and then 1 female. But in the last century, some things have changed. Lots of things have changed. Our culture has changed. The way we understand sex and gender have changed. We are much less likely to assume that someone's role in society or even their gender identity will be set at the moment that they're born. BCA has lots of women ministers, and we're getting more each year. Women are taking leadership roles in all levels of the BCA, and I think that's exciting. It certainly has worked well for me. I am quite happy as a minister, and probably more happy as a minister than I would be trying to get the oranges cut right to fit in the bento boxes, a skill I have never been able to perfect. On the other hand, at the same time that I was studying and becoming a minister, our Idaho, Oregon Buddhist temple, Fujinkai, was becoming inactive because it didn't have enough members. I think we're especially short of women in my generation and younger because we were busy and are busy with children and following our careers, taking advantage of all the great opportunities that have become available to us women over the last 40 to 50 years. So going back to the metaphors of balance between the two wings of a bird, or the right and left hands, whichever metaphor you like best, what do these changing roles for women mean for the future of the BWA and for our temples as a whole? Back in the days before I could have been a minister, what would my role at the temple have been? I probably would have been helping in the kitchen some of the time, maybe getting better at cutting oranges, maybe spending time working in the nursery or helping take meals to our homebound community members. I could teach the younger kids at Dharma school. I think I would have had a good time at that. Or clean floors and weed in the garden. And these are all very important tasks. Very, very important tasks. And our temples could not exist without them. On a bigger scale, Lady Kujo and Lady Ohtani and many other women took care of their communities by creating institutions to provide health care and education to people who did not otherwise have access. And our Fujinkai ladies have done similar work here in America and in our Northwest temples, volunteering in their communities, doing compassionate work, the work of caring for their temples, their communities, and the planet. But as Buddhism teaches, everything changes. Looking around now, looking to the future, it's exciting to see the new roles that women are able to take on, both in our temples and in the larger world. Things that our grandmothers would have never thought possible. Things like becoming doctors and engineers and ministers. And I honestly think the women who came before us would be happy to see all of the opportunities that have become available to us. But as women move into new roles, we as temple communities should not forget the importance of the compassionate work that women have traditionally been doing, that we've been donating to our communities for centuries, the work of caring for and nurturing others. The work is still needed, maybe even more than ever. We should remember that the compassionate work that the Fujinkai ladies have traditionally done is still really important. We, our temples and our larger communities, still need both wisdom and compassion. But how that work is distributed in 2025 might look a lot different than it did 121 years ago when Lady Kujo and Lady Ohtani founded the Fujinkai, or even in 1961 when Lady Ohtani visited and started the World BWA. So we have a chance now. We have a chance now to help create the future. This is going to be the topic of our Dharma exchange after service. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts. I don't think the answer is clear. I think we have to be thoughtful and creative as we think about where we're going. As we consider the balance between the spiritual and the practical, between wisdom and compassion, I would like to close with a poem by Lady Kujo. The mountains rise higher and higher. The sky lifts and lifts. I stand rooted in the earth. Pushemian Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Namanda.
Thank you, Reverend Spencer, for such very interesting historical descriptions and very inspirational words. If you could please join in the Gatha Ondok-san 1, which is found in the back of your program. Lady Takeku Kujo writes in Leaves of My Heart, everyone wishes to live in a world without lies. Because we live in a world full of deceit, we yearn for the world of mutual trust. But such a world can only arise when everyone's hearts are filled with a depth of gratitude expressed by placing our hands together in Gassho. Namamidansu. Namidansu. Namadad, namadad, namadad. We'd like to introduce our Buddhist Women's Association co-president, Tina Zumoto-ko.
Good morning. We wanted to thank everyone for participating in today's service. We hope that it's been inspirational as well as educational and just a nice time to get together. So we really wanted to ask or thank Reverend Ann Spencer for making the trip out here, Reverend Kusunoki for arranging for such an inspirational speaker, Alex, Marissa for getting this online for all of us, and getting the coffee ready and the tea ready. So today is a really big day. We have our SBBWA general meeting. So we have many of our members who we haven't seen for a while, but we're so grateful that you've made the effort to come here and join us. We want to thank Kemi Nakabayashi for the musical accompaniment and everyone that has helped people come in from the icy parking lots and open the doors and have really helped us pull together a really nice service. So we hope we will do something together with the Sangha for Dana Day. We'll come up with some ideas and involve the temple so that we can be involved with the community. But we really want to thank everyone for their efforts in being here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. This concludes live streaming of our service today. Thank you to those of you who have joined us on the internet. And please join us again next week and have a nice day.